trying to carry so hard. King needed a change. Boy, have they changed things up here. Insect's back, so is Zero, but maybe not where you thought they'd be.
No, weirdly enough, Insect is back into the top lane after having a massive spell away from it because he's usually a jungle main.
Yep, I mean, was a jungler, moved to the top lane, moved back to the jungle, and apparently coming full circle, moving back to the top lane once again. And we're already into the draft as well. You can see Fizz banned away, probably an Insect ban, to be honest, although Korn's been playing it quite well as well. LeBlanc and Sivir, though, for King, and already things are crazy.
Yeah, getting rid of the LeBlanc, getting it away from Doinby, and then the Sivir, a very common picked champion at the very least, finally starting to see some bans, so getting rid of that very quickly.
I like that a lot, actually. We were calling for Sivir bans last week, being like, she's so strong, where are the bans? I feel like last split, people sort of figured out how to play against Sivir, but now no one really has a good answer. Cinderhawk's just far too good with it, so get it away. Nobody wants to play against it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Sivir just does way too much to even, if behind, still has this relevance, whereas other AD carries tend to drop off a bit, so getting rid of the Sivir finally starting to happen, but it does leave open threats of, do you want to ban a second AD carry in Kalista, or are you going to leave it available?
I mean, Kalista's going to be banned by King, so actually the answer is yes, they do want to ban another one away as they're banned there for QG, and we'll see if the Cassio ban maybe finds its way here as well.
And if it doesn't find its way into this ban, that might even be considered as the first pick. Korn seems to be able to play every champion under the sun. We saw a Rise game from him last week. We don't know what he's going to pull out at all, but no doubt he can play Cassiopeia. We'll see what they want to do with this last ban, though.
Yeah, Korn's always had a pretty, I would say, strict champion pool. Like, he plays very certain champions that he wants to play and kind of disregards the rest of them. Hecarim's actually the last ban there, so that's an Insect champion from the jungle. Probably can play a top lane there as well. And King going to think about their first pick. I have only one guess, Rusty. I don't think it's going to be Maokai.
No, I would wager not. They could go for basically anything right now, though. Alistar is, of course, most commonly banned and picked right now as first priority, so definitely a smart decision to get that away. And there's always going to be the Gragas, the Rek'Sai still both available, and then all of the top laners besides, I guess, the Fizz for Insect and the Hecarim in general being very strong.
Yeah, and Alistar is the first pick there for King, so I like that takeaway. But we've seen a lot of mid and AD carry bans today so far, and that means these junglers like the Gragas, like the Rek'Sai, even Sejuani if they wanted as well. These sort of picks are starting to get through more and more.
Yeah, and even the Nunu while we're talking about junglers, so many options for them, so their team comps are no longer limited by what's left to pick in the jungle. They can kind of freely pick as the Maokai Morgana hovers. Might be a good response to the Alistar.
I like it a lot. I mean, Morgana's... exactly. Yeah. Morgana's great in general against all this heavy CC. We'll change it up. They'd rather take the big jungler in Gragas, but Maokai Gragas, good frontline, good CC, good engage, good disengage. Really good first two picks for QG.
Yeah, and again, no surprise whatsoever. So strong in the current meta. They can just get that early pressure jungler of the Gragas, and then the Maokai, which does it all exceptionally well. It can be a split pusher if need be. We have seen a lot of split push Maokai. Use the teleport to come in and be a big threat, and just has the ultimate available to prevent all of this damage coming down. All around, such a good champion to pick up first.
Maokai's just awesome here, and it's been a popular first pick. Even in our last series, I believe we had one coming through, but King kind of running out of time to pick here. We've seen them be quite aggressive just in general, so I think they want to get ahead and try and snowball the game. Maybe not actually as they swap away the AD carry. Huey's going to be back on Rek'Sai for the up-10th time, but Name wants to play Jinx.
And he has played Jinx before. The last time we saw it, I think it was a 50-minute game roughly, where he had the team on his back, but just was not enough because they were running a single threat comp against the tanky lineup, which is what they've got the makings for so far as they hover yet another tank.
Yeah, for a long time, Name's Jinx was undefeated. Finally picked up some losses, I think, this year. And it's not quite the same record as Deft, who is still undefeated and has about twice the amount of wins that Name had on that champion. But Name's a great Jinx player. Again, you can see them going back to sort of giving him more hyper carries, but TNT might be mixing it up again. Maybe one hypercar is not enough for this game. We'll give him a little bit more time. Nope, never mind. No swapping. TNT locks in Vayne and Nautilus in for support.
So they've got the three big tanks now, the three big frontline members. They've got their AD carry that's the hyper carry in Vayne. Would not be surprised if they go for, say, the Cassiopeia as a last pick and run the big two-threat comp and just have the three frontliners. We're still waiting to see what King want to put in here.
You can see as well, Name having some fun, hovering Nasus, just to sort of mix things up. But looks like they need a mid laner and a top laner, actually, so wanting to complete those solo lanes here. Again, Insect's been a long time since he's played top lane, gone are the days of his famous top Zac. So I don't know what we're going to be seeing from him exactly, but we've definitely noted that Cola been underperforming recently. I think that's probably fair to say. And Insect wants to be a bit more of a carry for his team. Rise and not. Whoa, that's Colin with mid-rise. Never mind.
Yeah. We are. Korn
done it
actually
again.
played that last week, so we know that he's capable of playing the mid-rise. Unfortunately losing, but we're actually yet to see King get a win, so not a surprise that they did lose that game.
True.
He's got the Rise now, and it is a very strong champion right now. Rise is doing a lot of damage. If you get to work around his new passive perfectly, he's almost unrivaled in terms of 1v1 damage.
Yeah, just chunks out the damage output, goes off. I mean, you thought old Rise with cooldowns was crazy. Current Rise seems pretty insane there as well. But a blind pick Rise here for Korn, really sticking to comfort picks. He's played this champion for a long, long time. He was famous for it for a while, but Korn again has been up and down as well. Here's the last pick comes through for Doinby, and it's a very classic Orianna.
Now, I was expecting King to pick the Orianna instead of the Rise away. I feel like Ori would just do a lot more for them than what the Rise can provide. It's going to be quite a, not a weak mid laner, but they're going for the heavy scaling. Whereas now that they've picked the Orianna available on QG, their team fight becomes a bit stronger, a lot quicker.
I mean, it's also good to protect some of the hyper carry, or the only other hyper carry as well. That's why I also like the Orianna. I agree. So, interesting stuff here. Korn definitely a classic Orianna player, but sticking to his comfort in Rise. Haven't seen that matchup in a very long time, so not too sure how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's almost taken it back to like Season 3, roughly, where you had the Rise who didn't actually have a skill shot, so it's a lot easier to play Rise mid. Being the short lane, though, and you've almost always got minions in your way, it's very difficult for a Rise to actually get that spell down. So maybe, and this is happening quite often now, Rise will max that spell prison.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit more. Oh, the W, sorry?
Yeah, the W.
That's cool.
Sorry. Yeah,
just for a single target damage. Makes sense.
Well, it's the way that the new Rise works as well, because once you hit that passive, you use a spell, everything is reduced by roughly 2.7 seconds. So you can use the W about 4 times through the passive duration.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense in a long lane. We've started to see a bit more Rise into Maokai specifically. But mid-Rise is a bit of a different animal, but certainly a champion that Korn, even with a couple changes for Rise, can have plenty of experience on.
And might even go for the Luden's Echo while we're talking about it, because the amount of spells that you throw out, being a machine gun mid laner, works very well with the Ludens.
I mean, I like it. They added more damage in. It's not just Name that has to sort of solo carry this game, but like almost always with any sort of Name Jinx, he's got a lot of eggs in his basket.
Yeah, he does. And Name, going to be Name very easily here. He's going to be able to have a front line in his way. I just don't know if I like their comp as much as I like QG's, to be honest.
Well, I guess we'll have to find out because we're getting onto the Rift for game number 1. And we're back for our first game between King and QG. King mixing things up here. 4 losses straight in a row, looking for their first win. And for QG, they're obviously looking to give them their 5th loss here. They've mixed things up. We've got a Rise in the mid lane. Insect's in the top side. Zero is back and dancing with his old teammates. King have definitely gone through some drastic changes after getting relegated last season and then coming back here into summer. A lot on the line for them here, and as I said, for a lot of these teams, it's all about getting that first win and starting to mount some momentum.
Yeah, this is much more the definitely not Starhorn Royal Club roster that we're used to seeing, and it's going to be interesting to have Insec in that top lane and see how he actually performs there on the Na, who... It's a sign that he's definitely comfortable playing Na, because Na is one of the highest skill ceiling top lane champions, and the same goes for mid, I suppose. Very comfortable picks.
You can see TNT actually moving himself to the top side. So an interesting 1v1 if that's what you have, although we've got TCT moving up as well. So more likely a 1v2. You can see Insec trying to dodge all of the early wards that QG have put down. But unbeknownst to King, they're getting lane swapped on.
They are going to get lane swapped on here, whether they like it or not. And because they've got the Vayne Nautilus, I don't know if their 2v2 was better or worse. So maybe sacrificing the 2v2 matchup to put some pressure down onto Insec, who is not too familiar in that top lane.
No, I mean, definitely becoming a new top laner and moving into a 1v2 is a bit of a rough situation. Nautilus has actually pulled the wave and frozen it as well. So you can see the Boomerang's trying to find some farm for Insec, but unfortunately he misses the first one, and Marco's already off in the jungle follow.
Yeah, the realization has set in that he's going to be zoned a lot. So doing his best to try and get the last hits with the Boomerang, not going to happen until it starts to push under the tower, but QG opting to freeze more so than push them straight in.
And you can see, I think King going to do the opposite here. They've got the Alistar, they've got the Jinx. Decent damage onto the turret early on there for that Jinx. So want to fast push down these turrets and open the map back up.
They're still getting a lot of free experience. So the lane is not jungling with the jungler right now. The top lane is just going to sit there. Whereas you have a look at Maokai and he is just going around the jungle doing his thing with Swift there on the Gragas.
Yeah, it was awkward actually. We sort of saw Insec very adamantly in the top half of the map with his jungler starting on the bottom, and even if they realized late that the lane swap was happening, he just couldn't jungle because he was on the complete opposite side of the map.
That is true. And then they've also got the 4-man now coming in the top lane. So the realization should be there that at this time in the game, around the 3-minute mark as a duo jungle, they start to finish their last camps. And the wave is still pushing actually away from Insect. They might not opt to dive because he's going to start to get zoned here from the 2v1.
I mean, there's plenty of jungle to take away here as well. So QG might just opt for that instead. You can see Swift and V going to move in for the blue buff. Huey going to take the Gromp away there. He's got his red buff. And down the bottom, he'll move down. They'll try and push out that turret. But blue buff's going to go, and maybe a dive's getting set up as well.
Eventually, when it pushes back, you can kind of tell by the way that the Vayne and the Nautilus are now freely hitting and auto-attacking everything to push it back that they were looking to dive. Insect very smartly recognizing that fact, backing away.
Yeah, great intuition there for Insect. Sort of newly back to his old lane in some ways here in the top side. And Name and Zero trying to push down the turret. It's melting here under the minigun. And just after this wave gets pushed back, they should be able to take it away.
Yeah, they should get this with the next wave. The power of the Jinx is just so good at taking down turrets. And TNT has been doing his best with his support buddy there, the other TCT, to get some zone away and stop Nah from getting as much farm as possible. They are going to be able to get the tower in response here, so eventually it's going to be 1-for-1 in turrets. Mid laners just being very casual and farming against each other, and that suits both of them perfectly fine.
I think Insect's diving the mid lane. Yeah, actually goes in onto Doinby, but
there's a whole lot of damage.
turret goes down in the bottom. Dragon will go to King as well by the looks of things. So a lot of trades back and forth. Huey and Zero working on the Dragon. Takes him a little while longer than they might like, but Name will transition in, make sure to take it out. And Insect, he's just having a merry old adventure.
He's just doing his thing, walking around, and smartly of King to get this Dragon, taking that away as soon as possible because they did have the 4-man pushing top lane. So they get the trade pretty much in their favor because they get the Dragon on top of everything else. I guess if you have a look at the overall difference, it's not big except for the Dragon almost completely. Yeah,
I mean, the gold is even here at this point as Insect's actually going to go to the top side of the map in a very long lane now in a 1v1. And it seems like Name, pickaxe has been completed, actually going back down to the bottom side.
Yeah, he's gone for that pickaxe, looking for some early pressure as Doinby just takes a whole lot of pressure himself from this Ryze, who is going to be due for a recall sometime soon. But yeah, going for the pickaxe up against the Vampiric Scepter of Vayne is a very good position for the Jinx to be in, accelerating his build a little bit faster to have some early pressure, stop the Vayne from completely controlling the lane, and it'll be a very interesting 2v2 to see how this pans out.
Yeah, I actually like the choice of them just to keep their turret up as well, because they just want to make sure that things are safe. Insect probably feels relatively comfortable, kind of isolated in the top lane, despite the fact that it doesn't have a turret, so they can keep things like this. Insect will collect farm, Jinx will keep moving ahead there in that bottom lane, and everything's going to be just good for King's early game.
Yeah, if they manage to get this Insect still going with the farm, if he doesn't get dove because there's no tower there, there is the chance that he can either freeze it or there's the chance that he can get dove and they can completely deny the freeze. So how the next minute starts to pan out is very important for this King lineup.
And vision then must be important here because Insect needs to get wards now. He doesn't want to get ganked.
Yeah, and he didn't really opt towards wards. Nice. That's a tongue twister. He decided to go for the Null Magic Mantle, get that 500 gold worth of magic resistance to survive the lane. So it's going to come down onto the back of the jungler here on Huey if he can put the wards down and prevent Insect from being out of position.
And I think for me, Rek'Sai, almost underrated in how much vision you get with your Tremor Sense and with your general patterning as well. So put tunnels around, get some vision, and just make sure Insect stays safe. Because Jinx right now, like you said, perfectly comfortable against the Vayne right now.
That's a good point. What you'd be looking to do is use that sonar radar that you get and kind of deny the enemy jungler from being anywhere near the top lane, or if he is, you'll be able to spot it happening.
Yeah, and Swift, we've certainly noted he's aggressive. Wants to get stuff done early on the Gragas if he can, but we'll see how the lanes hold here as it's one turret each, but one dragon up for King. So the slimmest of advantages is the gold, like you said already, Rusty, dead even at about 7 minutes into the game.
Yeah, slim advantage, but still an advantage, and in particular, the top lane is going to have levels and CS in his favor and has not actually recalled for an item yet. So in a very good position is this Maokai, but as we just mentioned, Insect's now got the possibility of freezing, and it's very risky for V to push past where he is now. Having to wait 5 seconds and throw down a sapling before even walking up to where he is now. He knows he's in a scary position, but he needs to try and break the freeze.
Yeah, Insect keeping the lane in a nice little spot for himself as Korn and Doinby there just farming back and forth. And I mean, it's a bit of a weird lane. I guess expected to be a farm fest, but I think if Ryze is comfortably farming, he's probably pretty happy.
He's always going to be happy if you're a Ryze and you're getting last hits because all you want to do is scale and utilize that passive late game.
V wants to go in onto Insect there, level 6 actually, but a little low on mana as they trade back and forth. Insect will pop back into Mini now though and just try and keep the wave back. So a nice little trade, but Swift couldn't quite get in range for that gank he wanted.
No, this is still very good for Insect. If he can hold the wave exactly where it is now, he's going to be in a very good position. Just keeping the cannon alive is the important part. So they tried to push it in, but V running out of mana was very detrimental to that gank success.
Don't want to miss that cannon there. So Huey now going to come into the jungle actually, and it's a contest for the blue buff that King will now fight over. Name level 5, 0 level 5, Huey level 6, and Corn's here as well. That's a nice steal away and seems to be going to the rise and does indeed.
Yeah, getting back, or not having to recall rather, and then being in base was very easy for them to walk into that jungle and just be able to place all the pressure they like onto the opposition there. And they do get the blue away. I believe it goes onto Corn, which is great because it didn't need to be smited away from Swift.
Oh, TCT could be in trouble. Double shockwave lands in, but Nautilus out of position, gets exhausted. Name's going to follow through, flashes after him, gets the last auto attack and takes first blood.
And that's really big for the Jinx, who went for the pickaxe first, so sacrificed a lot of pressure of getting the BF sword. Now has a kill to accelerate that BF and is going to be very big in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, Name going back to shop, and there's that BF sword that we're looking for. So Name getting strong.
Very well timed. It was a little high five to myself.
Excellently timed here. I mean, Name does this a lot as well. He actually likes going Berserker Greaves before he finishes that IE and just starts rotating around. And just with how the map's broken already, Jinx actually taking early turrets is a good early thing that King can start to do.
They can do that. They've already got the bottom turret, so the availability to go to maybe the top lane. Insect's now got that level 6 and a Hex Drinker, so in a way they kind of want him to continue to 1v1 the Maokai, so Jinx most likely opting to roam towards that mid lane, and Doinb doesn't have a whole lot of mana to speak of, so they're going to push out bot lane. We'll see if they want to translate mid, or if they're just really content farming right now.
I mean, right now certainly seems content to farm. Insect catching up, or keeping up, I should say, about even on CS there to V. Nami as well, bit behind, but just fine here in the matchup and can maybe start to bully with the extra AD. And probably most importantly, that mid lane slightly up for Korn, but most importantly, keeping his turret up and getting CS.
Yeah, nothing actually coming of the mid lane fight besides last hitting, and they're both doing it exceptionally well, granted. Above 90 CS at the 10-minute mark is a very good point to be at. So sitting pretty are both of the mid laners. They need to start translating that into fighting, though, and a Morello's being done here for Orianna is big.
That's very fast, actually, for Doinb, so can start to get a bit more aggressive. Gromp will be taken there by TCT and TNT as they'll team up to make sure that goes down. But I think Name's freezing that wave in the bottom side by the looks of his positioning, so Paul Vane is completely denied.
He's not going to be freezing more so than just slow pushing it and only using the last hit, not actually just fast pushing it into the side of TNT. So denying as much as he can, but not actually freezing so that he's wasting time, or if he needs to rotate quickly perhaps, he's going to be able to do so.
See that dragon back up there as well. King have a pink ward right on top of the entrance to the pit, so if they want to start moving in, they probably want to move in quickly. Jinx is good right now for damage as well. Even Korn's not too bad, but everyone's recalling. It seems like they think QG are going to try and fight them for this next objective.
I would not be surprised if QG do want to fight for this next objective. They've got the Gragas, who has ultimate available. They've got the Maokai, who's just going to be the brutish frontliner. And then you've got the Morellos finished and the makings of the Blade of the Emerald King. They may not want to fight until that blade is finished here on the Vayne, but they're very strong and they are starting to spike quite hard.
Yeah, we'll see if King can use that window when TNT's still looking for that last little bit of farm. And you can see Name's gone back. There's the Berserker Greaves that we talked about. So neutral damage is there, turret damage is there if they want it. And King going to start off by claiming their second dragon.
And feeling like they're slightly stronger is the King side at the moment. They only have smaller items, not really completed items from anyone except perhaps their jungler in Huey, but able to control the area successfully, and they get the dragon.
Oh, Insect, good hop. No, denied by Swift there as he body slams him out of it. Insect will just hit Mega Now. He's trying to buy time. Good ulti, but he nods them back away. Insect now has to try and find a way to get out. Yeah, no one coming to help. He's got his TP. He's going to start using it. Can they stop it? Yes, they can. Flash twisted advance, and he just goes down, I believe. He does.
Yep,
Goodbye,
he does
Insect.
go down. Rest in peace, Insect. Did all that he could, but getting a very good gank from the Gragas directly behind him denies any chance of jumping, or especially getting the double hop away. So completely caught out of position, and very well done from Swift to save the explosive cask for as long as necessary and keep him there to take more damage, and they do pick up that kill.
Great mechanics there from Gragas, and it's Swift actually that gets credit for the kill, so bit of extra gold for himself, and normally we'd look at a jungler and say, not sure that's where I want the gold to go. I believe I can make an exception for someone like Swift.
I would 100% make an exception for someone like Swift. He loves picking up the kills himself, and the CS difference is in favor of V for QG here in the top lane, so why not put the kill onto the jungler who can affect the rest of the map with the extra gold?
Yeah, you can see Insect kind of sitting back towards his tier 2 now. Nice deep ward as well for QG in that lane. Just trying to spot it wherever that Gnar is. No teleport for Insect means that he's really stuck here for a while trying to farm, but King again, probably pretty happy to farm up. Name still getting stronger, although TNT does now have his Blade of the Ruined King, but a Rod of Ages just done for Con means he's really good on that charge timer early on.
Yeah, I think you said it though. King are very content with just continuing to farm, continuing to last hit as much as they can and scale through. You can see it from the itemization again from the Gnar. Opting straight for the magic resistance, doesn't want any armor just yet. So it's not like he's looking to teamfight, essentially just wants to stay in lane or rotate to mid because he has a lot of MR. And he doesn't want to end up doing a 5v5 teamfight from just that alone.
Yeah, just needs to keep his farm up, get the teleport back as Doinby going to get the blue buff there from Swift. See if maybe QG can look in for a turret, because that's where both teams are honestly looking for, but Name content farming away, pushing the wave back as best he can, and again, trying to deny TNT more farm, but to Vayne's credit, she's gotten a lot of farm as Name sort of pushed the wave back up.
Yeah, actually quite comfortable is TNT here with the amount of farm that he has gotten, and it's matched by Name, but they both scale very well, so no one actually coming out ahead, essentially, besides the kill that Name has gotten, giving him a bit of an experience. No, he's behind in experience, actually. They've been taking a lot of gromps.
Yeah, TNT is the king of the gromp at this stage of the game. And I guess with everything sort of slowing down here, we talk about teleports not being up yet. Teams are sort of content to farm it out. We have a third dragon coming up in a couple minutes, so I assume that's our next big fight point. But I wonder, Rusty, who do you think is going to actually have the edge in that big mid-game team fight?
It really depends on where they actually are with items before the fight breaks out. You can imagine the Infinity Edge will be finished before this next dragon. There is a few minutes. The Rod of Ages also now completed and ramping up here on the side of King. Korn looking very good with his itemization, but can he turn that into damage is another question.
Nice little rotation actually there from King. Going to get another turret for themselves. I like Zero threatening to dive that Orianna, and as a result, Doinby backs away. Can't wave clear, and King get themselves another turret.
Very, very clever. Small little rotations here, and it seems like the King roster, having changed a bit, is starting to be a lot smarter with their decisions and rotations.
I mean, I wonder who's shot calling, actually, because I think it might have been Insect's job on the old team, but I know Name kind of fancies himself in that position as well, although we do have an invade onto the blue here for QG, but V might have been caught away. Going to come back in onto the blue buff. I think it went to Con. Oriana's in the mix now as well, but Zero flash pulverized onto Doinby. Insect finds an ulti onto V. Ulti moves out, and that takes out the Rek'Sai, I believe, but now Name is going to join back in. Has his ulti, doing good damage. Korn is somehow still alive. Doinby going to be the next target to chase away, and Rise lived for so long as Zero gets another pulverize. Name chases it down, and it's messy, but a 4-3 win for King.
That was basically just a massacre. Everyone going down, and so much action going across here, but Doinby running out of mana, a big factor in why they started to turn around. That and TNT went a little bit too ham. He really tried his best to get directly in the middle of them all, instantly going down to the rocket and the burst from all of the members of King. And from that point where TNT went down, one of the two big damage sources from the QG side, the team fight started to go downhill very quickly.
And we've certainly looked at TNT as one of your more aggressive players. So playing a champion like Vayne, I think I can understand the mindset of a player who may be a little too far forward.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that he is playing far forward. He is an explosive player that does flash often in the direction of the enemies, and it's going to start to work the later the game goes, but at this point in time, Orianna's damage is respectable, but it's not hyper carry level, so you need to stay alive for a bit longer than 3 seconds of jumping into them all, and do as much damage as you can, so that you've at least done your job.
And he saw the difference there for Korn, honestly, because his Rod of Ages is still charging up, now has the blasting on moving towards his Archangels and eventually a Ceres, but he just stood there and face tanked a bunch of damage and outputted rather respectable DPS once the passive came online.
Yeah, once the Rise starts to ramp up and hits that 5th spell usage and the passive comes in, you get the shield and that helps a lot. And then you can just be a machine gun and just throw out spells constantly. So being able to do that, and especially where they fought, favoured Korn very well because it was almost impossible to miss a spell.
And you can see Doinby as well now got to avoid stuff, so sort of realizes, okay, I need to have a bit of an earlier impact here in this game. So going for a very cost-efficient build. Dragon back up in 20 seconds though, and Name has got himself a Zeal to, against TNT's Berserker Greaves and now Avarice Blade. We talked about third Dragon being important. Both teams fairly well equipped to fight for it.
I really like the Void Staff decision here from Doinby, and it suits the rest of the team really well for this Dragon fight because they are accelerating the items with all these cost-efficient stats, and even an Avarice Blade right now being done on the side of TNT, going straight for the stats. Doesn't want to go for the Phantom Dancer early from the looks of it, just needed the crit now.
Yeah.
So.
He just wants the Ghost Blade instead for a bit more power immediately. Here is QG trying to get King off the Dragon. Will look to do so. Korn actually had a bit of an awkward back timer. Insect's also trapped in the top lane, but he does have his teleport ready. So QG going to get aggressive onto the Dragon. But King, I said, looking to fight in this situation.
They would want to fight this. It's the third Dragon. At the very least, try to steal this. And they're going in.
Go in. Huey can't get it. Vayne actually claims it for QG, but the team fight is on. Name getting chased away. Gets barreled back in there by Gragas. Shockwave takes him out as well, but Korn dishing out so much damage. Insect's joined in as well. He's actually lining up the ulti. Last one left here is Zero. Still surviving. Insect in here as well as Rise has fallen down, and the world's silliest looking 2v2. I don't know, but Swift, he's really tanky. Body slams away, but Huey chases. Insect's now in mini form, and another massacre. 4 for 3 once again.
For a second there, I thought QG were going to turn that fight around, and they did manage to get 3 kills onto important members of the King's side. Straight away again, TNT caught out of position. Alistar hitting the great headbutt pulverized combo rather, followed by the teleport that came through from Insect behind them, and then they were caught in a very bad position. TNT down straight away. Doinby left to just lick his wounds and run away as fast as he could. Not going to happen. But again, Swift and V turn it around, end up getting these kills back in their favor and make a trade out of it. They do get the Dragon as well, which is big for QG. They denied that.
Yep, denying that third Dragon, stopping a bit of that snowball potentially from coming online. But King are starting to ramp up as well. We talk about their scaling. Jinx getting stronger. Korn also getting stronger. And Swift and V gone straight for the immobile AD carry. Because if Name had lived, that would not have been a close fight.
Oh no, the fact that he was already 3-1, he was in a very good position to do as much damage as he can. Starting to go for that static shiv and already had the Infinity Edge Zeal. So Jinx was ramping up massively, but they did take him down there, thankfully, or that was a complete ace.
Yeah, so we have a bit more of a lull now. Intec actually gone for a Banshee's Veil, curiously, as his next item here. So not a Spirit Visage, wants to opt in for a bit of an earlier item once again. Still stacking for Korn. He's got his Archangels almost online, you have to think, and the tier probably pretty well charged up. Even Vayne returning to the bottom side, working on that Ghost Blade, has the double longsword ready for the Brutalizer.
And the more and more that I look at this particular game holistically is that King are actually itemizing extremely smartly. So they're stacking magic resistance, and even the Aegis just being completed from Rek'Sai, getting all of these big items for magic resistance and just running at TNT, instantly killing TNT, and then their tanks are going to be too tanky because they've itemized completely to take out the rest of the QG side.
Yeah, you can see Korn actually double pink wards on that blue buff. I think that was for the
They've
fight
been
before, against the Vayne, which is pretty funny, but a little bit of extra vision as Korn takes away the blue. Insect's back down in the bottom side. You can see some pings there onto the top. Name ready to roam. He's got his static shift now, and 2 outers already done. The top lane's looking pretty juicy now as well.
Yeah, the only outer remaining is that top lane turret. So the next plan of attack for Name, at the very least, is to walk towards the top lane, pick up some red minions, and pressure the turret there. You can see instantly QG were already aware the top was going to be the next plan of attack, and they're sitting near the area to look for a team fight or to defend the turrets. But their wave clear without an Orianna is quite lackluster, so they do need Orianna to be everywhere when they siege.
I mean, both teams need to bring everyone, honestly. QT need to stop the push from coming through and just don't want to lose a turret for free. And as you said, King need everyone to protect poor Name. Is Huey actually going to get grabbed up? Yeah, interesting tunnel cancel there coming through. Nice hook from TCT. Hook, though, coming in. Depth charge landing in onto Zero. Actually does knock up Huey as well, but Zero's going to just run away from the Vayne, who gets exhausted. Barrel there for Swift. Will miss. Zero, though, forced to pop his ultimate. Korn's moved around as well. It's a 4v5 right now with Insect in the bottom side. Doinby gets thrown over the other side by the looks of things, but the kill does go down. Korn, though, will get the trade, so all supports down. Double shockwave does not tag Name. Ulti comes through. Good flash from Doinby, but Swift taking so much damage. Name going off as he flashes into the back, but TNT gets aggressive, takes him out, but goes down, and it's Korn once again playing Janitor.
Korn has been doing a lot of damage. He actually just wrecked them all. They're standing in a small area. He's got the Abyssal Scepter. Again, they're stacking this magic resistance, so nobody except TNT can do damage. But TNT's gone for a Ghost Blade and accelerated his build, and he keeps getting caught in a very aggressive and bad position for his team. He needs to reassess the way that he's playing right now. Maybe even get some magic resistance or a Banshees or even a Bloodthirster next to sustain through and do as much as he can for his team until Orianna can start to ramp up with a death cap because the Void Staff's not enough yet.
Yeah, and as a reminder, that was a 4v5. Insec was in the bottom and he actually got a turret down there as well. And I think to make it worse for QG, they ended up kiting back to the area where the pink wards were as well. So not even TNT could escape with invisibility.
But I mean, a couple of times there I saw Swift start to drink out of his barrel and stand completely still. And that was what gave Name the reset twice, was because he could just auto-attack with the rockets at max range on someone standing still, and AoE was hitting everyone.
Good rotation from Huey as well. Takes out a 4th turret now for King, and we look up at the gold in, and all of a sudden, King are about 5,000 gold ahead. We talked about them looking for a win, certainly looking to change things up as far as the roster goes, and so far so good. Insec in the top lane, Zero back in support. Things look a little bit more in position now for King.
Yeah, they just seem a lot smarter almost in the decision-making, the rotations and the plays, knowing that they can fight a 4v5 without Insec. Very big call to make, and they just seem super confident all around now. It's like a new King.
I agree. It's the shot calling that's really changed it for me. And again, I'm not sure who's actually doing that, but if it's Insec who is responsible, welcome back to the team. I mean, King.
Let's assume it's Insec or Zero.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's funny as well that both they're Korean players, but clearly communicating more than well enough to help them out. And King posturing for Baron where Insec split pushes bottom. Great positioning across the map.
Yeah, they've now got control of the entire Baron pit, and they do have the teleport advantage. So easy to get control here. Pinks everywhere. They don't want this Vayne to be a presence in this game whatsoever, even though they're stacking magic resistance. So very smart in the way that they've itemized, but also very smart in the fact that they have pink wards down in places where they're going to fight. Predetermined almost.
Yeah, Dragon's back up as well, so King, lots of good choices here as far as next objectives goes. We'll look down the items. The Arcadal's done for Korn, so Seraph on the way, you have to think, without charging up. And Name, I love finally that someone's building Blade of the Ruin King against these tanks. Jinx knows she's going to be in trouble. She has to try and live and take out the big frontliners, so Blade of the Ruin King, a great third item.
It is a good item, but then why not go for the Bloodthirster as well? So I guess the decision has been that they are stacking enough health to warrant having the Blade of the Ruin King, having that active as well to help out, instead of going for the overshield and raw damage amount, because at the moment, the damage seems to be more than enough.
Insecto finding Doinby actually. Ulti comes through, but he gets the Narin. Zero with the pulverize. Ulti through for Name, gets the kill. And Korn's now moving in on top of V. He's absolutely dead as Name gets the double. Blue buff will fall down. Dragon or maybe some base will follow it because King they're pinging the bottom lane.
And they're just so good at map control right now. Walking through all of the wards from QG, but knowing that the blue buff was there. Completely committing to going for that. Insec hitting a great ult as he gets stunned away from the Orianna Shockwave. Cements the position where she was locked in. Gets the Alistar knockup and the rocket. And now they're getting an inhibitor.
The King's carries are so strong at this stage. 6-2 and 7 for Korn. 8-2 and 6 there for Name, and a wonderful supporting cast here for King. Again, back with their Korean players in different lanes for Insec, but still back with their usual roster. And again, it looks like King can almost write off the first 2 weeks with just this one game because it's a completely different team.
It is a completely different side, and they just feel like they're completely different in terms of the coordination almost. The same carries, but just performing exceptionally better. And this Rise is just going to show how much stronger Rise has become since the changes almost, and still about to get changed again not long from now.
Yeah, I mean, looking good so far. Korn pretty happy that one of his favorite champions is back in. Insec going to look for a teleport here as well. Not quite enough rage, but he's in a good position. Going to come in for the flank here. Insec known for making plays as Zero lining it up as well, but QG will back away from that mid turret that they want to claim oh so much.
King know that they're ahead enough to fight, but QG really wanting that objective smartly do back off when they don't want to fight for it. The death cap is completed here now though for Doinby, and that's going to make the team fight a lot stronger because the Void Staff is already there and they're only stacking the magic resistance. So I think the longer that this game starts to go, if they don't get armor anytime soon, or a lot of armor, sorry, anytime soon, only the makings of the Randuins here for Insec, the Vayne might completely take over.
I mean, QG have fine damage here, and we've seen their late game team fighting as well. Have full faith in a team like QG, despite how young they are, to be able to team fight. But King's movement's been great. The Baron even getting cleared out again. A 0 eats a couple shots there from the Baron as well. Corn's going to get his blue buff. All of King are moving in to try and contest it. And it's going to be a bad choice here for QT. Defend bottom or defend Baron, because King are fine with either.
Well, the good part about the inhibitor they actually got here on the side of King is it's on the bottom side of the map. And that is the worst part to actually get the inhibitor, the worst lane, if you're looking to defend the Baron area. You have to send V there, and that was a big stack of super minions. So at this current point in time, while V is there defending super minions, they can choose to start this straight away.
Bled through and King's finish for Nami as well. So that Baron damage just goes through the roof. Huey even zoning them away and then diving back into the pit. Ward goes down, but the Baron is dead here. Swift tries, but he can't get the steal.
The explosive Cusk not coming in soon enough to take that Baron away. And now that they've got this big lead, about 9,000 gold, they've got the Baron. They've already got the bottom inhibitor, and the minion control that they have right now is perfect for them to push mid, completely just quickly rotate to top, and at the very least get the 2 inner turrets.
And as I said, I don't know who this team is because they look completely different despite being the starting roster for this particular season. It's been a rough 2 weeks for King, but this game at least looks to be in their complete control.
They decided to use the Righteous Glory to run towards the jungle. I think they realized shortly after that it only works running towards champions and changed their mind. So staying here in the mid lane, looking to pressure it down until Insect can get that wave pushed up to the turret in the top lane. At the very least, they're about to get a 600 gold boost for every member just from objectives.
Yeah, and they're going to move up to the top side and take out that turret instead. So that's the easy one to take. They'll claim all of the tier 2 turrets now as well after clearing out the top side of the map. And if they can push in and get another inhibitor turret, great. If not, QG still have an open base in the bottom half.
Yeah, and it was hard enough for them, and they are scaling still, QG. Their damage late game is definitely respectable, but at the moment, it's starting to completely overrun them. The Rise and the Jinx, it's so hard to outscale those two.
Their gold lead is just phenomenal at this stage, and you can see the ball coming in. The Baron up counter minion will go down as Doinby does do good damage, but Insect's throwing boomerangs. Nami's got plenty of protection, and you don't really want to dive these guys, because Rise, especially in short range, he will rip through your team.
And meanwhile, in the bottom lane is a whole lot of blue dots doing damage to your siege turrets, so they're going to have to start reacting to that. And the second they react and send over their only person with wave clear being Doinby, you can put a lot more pressure in the top lane.
I like Zero's positioning as well. He knows that if he finds someone in that position, he's a great diver. So even just threatening to dive in and open up more space for King. We're going to be slow about it, but they've got plenty of time to try and do damage to the turret, and QG need to find the perfect angle for a team fight.
Even if they get 2 hits on every wave, it's still going to be pushing into the bot lane. So you can be calm. You've already got this Baron, and you've got a little while left on that buff. So in a very safe position here with King to do as they like. And again, they were waiting for the minions, which they are controlling so perfectly, to push back in the mid lane and quickly rotate. They could almost go between if they do it right.
Again, it's been objective control that's looked so good here for King, and now onto the mid turret with a big stack coming in as well. QG pulled the trigger on the Righteous Glory, but Insect's almost mega now. Turret goes down, Insect goes mega, just bops him into the wall there. Nami gets knocked up as well, but Korn's already killed TNT. Nami gets jumped up, but the rest of King are just going to take out the back and front lines. V, he's dead at this stage as Nami flashes forward for the last few rockets. Nautilus goes in, but gets done. Nami, hungry for blood, goes back in. Insect hops under Doinby, going to try and take out Orianna.
Oh.
But King, big snipe from the Jinx. Going to give the 4th kill and the game to King.
Korn is just doing so much damage, instantly wrecking TNT, and he just did not have an impact in this entire game because they are just so smart in the way that they built with items, the way that they focused the right champion.